Nerd Chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome everybody to the Nerdschatting podcast. My name is Nate. You may not recognise me because my voice is bad, and with me is my very good friend Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Nate.
Sorry, everybody. I'm still going strong, I promise. JB's not with us today. He's off. He's on some jolly somewhere.
At the Dick Doctor.
Well, he said he was gone. He said he's gone.
Sorry, I can't.
You can't take me seriously. He said he's gone to Penryn, but you're right. It might be a whole day at the surgeon.
2 days at the
Yeah,
surgeon.
yeah.
They're either taking a bit off or they're putting a bit on.
Look, they can't.
I don't even know.
Let our listeners decide. So, Ben.
Yes, Nate.
This week, we had two very interesting things happen. Firstly, Jason Reitman said, yeah, I'm working on Ghostbusters 3. Shh, I'm working on Shush, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And then the next day, he released a trailer.
They only went and released an actual teaser trailer. Now, it was the second trailer that we had this week because we had the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, which was great. But we're not talking about that.
No, but that was a teaser, and it was a 3-minute story trailer. This was a teaser, it was 1 minute of
teaser.
And then the song and the car.
Did this trailer not send goosebumps up and down your spine?
Yeah, it's great. And therefore, I thought we should talk about Ghostbusters.
Yes, because James hasn't seen Ghostbusters, has he?
No.
And he makes a continual joke about it because you're so distressed that James hasn't seen Ghostbusters. I mean, I am as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we could literally have a conversation quoting Ghostbusters back and forth to one
I
another.
was going to say, I don't think a week goes by where we don't accidentally quote Ghostbusters to each other.
That's a big Twinkie.
Tell them about the Twinkie. Like the other day, I prodded you, and you were like, "Yes, I am real." Thanks, Egon.
Yes, you did. Yes, I did. Yeah.
So, for anyone who hasn't seen Ghostbusters, firstly, rethink your life, and secondly, we're going to be pouring a lot of love over Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2. We're going to be pouring a little bit of love over the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Have you played the 2009 Ghostbusters game?
A little bit.
Dan
yes.
Aykroyd says is, for all intents and purposes, the third Ghostbusters film
Yeah,
that
I played
was never made.
a little bit of it, and I kind of actually want to go back to it now because I think at the time I was not necessarily into it as much. Not Ghostbusters per se, but gaming.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been into Ghostbusters since your mum handed you a Ghostbusters comic when you were a kid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right. Well, before that probably, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So with the new version of our podcast, which is not new anymore, where we don't necessarily do like news and stuff, and we Ben's going to move.
I'm just going to get sort myself. You keep talking.
What are you moving for?
This is all behind the scenes.
What's happening? Why is he
Pay
moving?
attention to it now. Now
Yeah.
everyone's going, what's going on?
Why are you moving?
I just put my leg up, you know.
Oh, Ben's got a poorly little leg.
I've got to put my poorly leg up.
No, I'm gonna draw attention to it.
You
so
are.
that lots of our
Massive
listeners
attention to it.
can give you sympathy
Jesus
because you're in the wars, aren't you, Ben?
Hello, everyone. I'm back. Right.
He's got another chair. He's put his leg up. He's crossed his leg over that leg, and he's feeling
happy. Right.
Anyway, as I was saying, so the sort of new format for our podcast is to take a topic and try and look at it from a different angle and ask some questions of it. So Ghostbusters, anyone who's listened for a long time will know my love of Ghostbusters, and I enjoyed the reboot. I think it has a lot of failings. I think the biggest positives of it is the cast. I think they're fantastic. But my focus for this is about the villains. And I'm quite broad with that. I mean, any of the ghosts. I mean, some of the ghosts aren't necessarily villains, but they are the sort of antagonists to the situation.
Yeah.
And
they are the pest to the Ghostbusters pest control.
Absolutely. And there's a really, really wonderful line in the first one when Slimer first slimes Pete Venkman. And Dan Aykroyd, Ray, runs around the corner in the hotel.
Hang on, is it this line?
No, it's not that one.
that the line?
That's a great line, but not that one, no. Where Pete Venkman says, he slimed me.
And Ray says,
that's great, actual physical contact. And I think that's the line that I think I want to focus on with my point about the villains. And Let me read this to you, the little blurb that I wrote.
Okay, you read that, because I have a theory, but you read that.
Okay, so the villains and the ghosts in Ghostbusters have a physical presence. And they, not just in the context of the movie, but also in the filmmaking sense. So most of the ghosts in the first two movies, a little bit in the remake, but not a lot, are practical effects. Mm-hmm. The prosthetics, the models, the animatronics. And this manifestation of actual physicality is that line in the movies. That's great actual physical contact. And I think it does something to us as an audience member. We recognise that there is literally a thing there that's touching and feeling. And so what I'm getting at is the villains in these movies are so realistic and so terrifying, even though it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Because of that realism, even though it's a comedy and it's about Ghostbusters. Now, what were you going to say?
Well, the first time you see a ghost in Ghostbusters, it's the librarian ghost,
Yeah.
and she's holding a book. She's flipping through the pages of a book.
Yeah.
She's reading a book.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, because the book's there.
But even before that, she interacts with the surroundings.
Yes, she does,
Books,
yeah.
The books move, the bookcase falls over, there's the slime, all the cards fire up into the space.
You're right, no human being would stack books like this.
Yeah. Listen, you smell something? You know. So, and
hang on, you missed it. Listen. Diddling. You smell something?
Very good, thank you. So I was sort of looking through Twitter a little bit at the hashtag of Ghostbusters, because obviously the new teasers come out. And Zaki Hassan, who I follow, is at Zaki's Corner, put a really great tweet out, and it's kind of exactly my thoughts. And he said, what made the original Ghostbusters work is it's about witty people in a realistic world, dealing with fantastic situations. He likes the remake, but where it falls down is that it's a comedy. It's about comedy characters who know they're in a comedy movie, dealing with the comedy situation. So that was another point I had, was what is it? Which is it? Is it that those villains or ghosts are practical, are real, are realistic, that make us connect with them and make us afraid of them? Or is it the characters and the actors who perform it so well and react to them so well?
I think it's two things. I think it's the last thing you said.
Yeah.
I also think it was done for budgetary purposes.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because in 1983, probably when this film was shot, 84 it was released,
Yeah.
or what have you, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure
It's
I've got
84,
that right.
yeah, it's 84.
To have the special effect of a ghost's hand passing through something,
Yeah.
or disappearing through a wall. You see Slimer disappear through a wall a couple of times,
Yeah.
but other than that, not much.
No.
It's probably because all the ghosts that you see on screen are performed by puppets or real people, or
Yeah.
they're rotoscope people, or what
Yeah,
have you.
yeah.
And it was cheaper for the film's budget to just go, do you know what? They physically interact with things. It's just
Maybe.
easier that
Yeah,
way.
but
at the same
it
time,
has this
though,
impact. It
yeah.
has the Yoda impact. The Empire Strikes Back. You know, you believe that puppet's eyes, even though
Yeah.
they don't move. They're stationary. And yet, when you get the CGI one in the Phantom Menace, you're like, oh, I don't get it. It's the uncanny valley. You know.
Well, of course, it was CGI first in Attack of the Clones. It was only CGI'd in A Phantom Menace
Sorry.
later. But
Apologies. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
The puppet in The Phantom Menace of
Didn't
Yoda looks ridiculous.
It does. Didn't they go back though and re-CGI?
Yeah,
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Anyway, what point we're making? Yes, I think you believe what's happening because of what this guy said, because the characters are so believable,
Yeah.
because the ghosts are so believable, and
They're interacting with the world.
yeah,
They are.
No one's really. I mean, people have claimed to have seen ghosts, and that's absolutely fine. But the layman who hasn't seen a ghost will go, I don't really know what a ghost looks like. So to see it on that screen and look at it and engage in it in that way makes it more real. And to have that ghost be able to pick up a book and flick through it,
Yeah.
to stack books that way,
Or-
to
or
leave snot everywhere.
To like Slimer coming out of the hot dog vendor's stand, like eating the hot dogs, and you see it all happen. You know, the whole thing is moving around him.
Yeah, that's brilliant. By the
Yeah,
way.
it is brilliant. That scene where and it also works with like Zool and Gozer.
Yeah, no.
The plot point with Gozer is that Gozer takes on a physical manifestation of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It just popped in there.
Yeah, and so that's my point. It just hammers home my point about this realism, this real world nonsense
Yeah.
Now, there's another point I wanted to bring, and we'll come back to all of this. And I think what I'd like to do is talk through all of the villains and ghosts and see how they affect us and how they interact with the world. But there's also a really interesting biblical implication.
Okay, right.
So, rightly or wrongly, the Bible is one of I think it's the biggest selling book of all time.
The King James Bible.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay,
Whatever. Yeah.
And
isn't it Harry Potter now? Doesn't
no,
matter.
I think it's
Nothing
not.
matters.
I don't think it is. And it's obviously a very it's a prevalent religion in America.
Christianity.
Yes.
Yes. Sure.
Okay. So what they do is this really clever thing in Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Is they bring the audience back to something that they know instinctively, because the Bible, references from the Bible, and references about death and the fear of those sorts of things. And there's a really, really lovely quiet scene just as the third act is about to begin between Winston and Ray in the car.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Winston says, "Hey, Ray, do you remember something in the Bible about the last days when the dead would rise from the grave?" So what it's doing is it's hammering home some metaphysical fears that we have,
Yeah.
but tying it into a very real book that we all know and we all recognise.
I can probably go into any hotel room
Yeah,
and pick
yeah,
it up from the
absolutely,
drawer
yeah.
or what have you. Yeah.
And then we get more. Ray says, "I remember Revelation 7:12, and I looked as he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became as black as sackcloth, and the moon became as blood."
And the seas boiled and the skies fell.
Judgment Day. So every ancient religion has its own myth about the end of the world.
Well, in that... Oh, sorry.
And
you're
then
still
Winston
reading,
says,
aren't you?
myth. Ray, has it ever occurred to you that maybe the reason we've been so busy lately is because the dead have been rising from the grave? So those two lines, they are the exact point I'm trying to make is the film is a myth, it's a fantasy, it's a nonsense thing. And then Winston says, well, hang on a minute. That nonsense is happening now. It's real.
Yes.
And it just brings you back into,
and
this is the real world.
And they both sort of have a moment where they pause and they sort of look at each other, and Ray's like, how about we put on some music?
Yeah, and then you get
they're
the
both
music.
realising that, shit, maybe the world is about to end.
and it's perfect that it's those two characters, because Winston is us in the film. I mean,
Yes.
Ray is us early on,
Yes.
but then he becomes institutionalized to the Ghostbusters, because Peter's too much of a comedy wacky guy, Egon's too much of a scientist for us to be in with them. Even though Ray is clearly super, super clever, he's us early on. When he becomes too much of a Ghostbuster, too into the
daily grind.
yeah. Then we need Winston to be us, to come in and say, what is this nonsense that's happening and how do you make it real? So these two characters having that conversation grounds it. And again, the biblical reference is so crucial.
It's quite a savvy thing to sort of just go, well, we have been really busy. Maybe it is because of all of that. He's quite switched on, isn't he, really, Winston?
Yeah, he
Wasn't
is,
he
yeah.
supposed to be? Wasn't he written as?
Eddie Murphy, I think, was originally cast.
Yeah.
Or originally, it was hoped to be him.
And wasn't he going to be like some kind of ex-army guy, and that's why he got the job, or he was ex-forces?
Yeah,
of some
that sounds
kind?
about right. Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. Probably something like that.
So anyway, I just really wanted to put that in there. I think it was a really
That's great.
important part to it, and I think there's probably far more we could talk about just that one scene and the biblical references of it. The biblical implications of it, especially when you're talking about ghosts and death and the afterlife and demons, because it's not just ghosts we're talking about. The villains themselves are demons.
Yes.
So Gozer and Zool are more demons, whereas you have like Slimer and the skeleton taxi driver and the librarian. They're ghosts. They're humans that have passed on.
And their spirits remain.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, yeah.
Whereas Zool and what was the other? What's that?
Vigo the Carpathian.
No. I was going to say Zool, Vince Clorthal, whatever he's called.
Yeah.
Gozer,
yeah.
are they're demons.
They're more demons than
Right.
ghosts, definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that right? Are they? Let's just say they are.
Yeah, let's say they are. Let's
Let's
just
back
own it.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Let's
back
own
it.
it.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So
Fine.
we talked about the librarian a little bit. Do you want to go through some of the ghosts and think
Yeah,
about
let's
how
do
they
it.
interact with the world and what that means for realism, or how stupid it is, whether it's a good character or a bad character?
So I think that Ghostbusters was the second film that I remember seeing at the cinema. I went to see the first one I went to see at the cinema was Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, nice.
So the next year I went to see Ghostbusters. I was with my mum and my stepdad at the time. I remember it vividly. It was the library scene.
Yeah.
Librarian around the corner. She's here, and they go, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
And Ray says, I know what to do. Do exactly as I say. Ready? Get her! And then she just explodes into this demonic-looking presence. And I absolutely died. I think I screamed. I buried my face into my mum's lap. I was just petrified.
But the librarian, looks like a human.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah.
Again, grounding it in reality. Yeah, she's floating. I get it. But you're like, oh, that's someone who used to work there.
Yeah, probably.
Who has died there or is haunting that space.
Yes.
And it's a person.
I wonder what the backstory is to the librarian.
I'm sure there
she
is one.
died horribly there or something.
No doubt there's a comic book that tells you.
I want to know now. I want to know.
But the first movie I saw at the cinema was Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, there you go.
In 89.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I saw that at the cinema as well. But I'm slightly older than you. About 25, 30 years older than you, something like that? Yeah, sure.
So there's the librarian. Slimer is you've got to talk about Slimer.
He's the second ghost we see, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I guess if you don't count
Zool.
Zool in the fridge.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. I think Slimer bucks the trend a little bit because he's so other. I mean, he doesn't have legs. He's just a face.
Just a floating ball of snot.
Yeah. But
he wasn't called Slimer in Ghostbusters, was he?
No,
He was called Slimer in the real Ghostbusters cartoon,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And it became so popular that eventually that cartoon became Slimer and the Ghostbusters.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
But what I think is good about him is, do you know the way they filmed it?
Wasn't it a guy with? Didn't he have like a puppet on his body?
Yeah,
and he's
basically.
wearing a black
So
suit?
it's a guy. Yeah, it's like the old like Butlins type things when they used to wear a black suit and they have like a fluorescent like animal that they would animatronic and the lights are off. Yeah, same thing. So there's a black suit, but the ghost suit was like the Disney rides that are ultra neon.
Oh, okay, right.
So they lit it really ultra neon, so that when they then overlaid it onto the film and it was partially see-through, some of that he's still glowing.
Right.
Because you lose luminosity.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just having a little look how they made it.
And when he's flying towards Peter Venkman and down the corridor, and they literally just moved the camera towards him. He stood still and just went like moved his arms around and then just moved the camera towards him, so he got bigger.
Okay, well that makes sense. I like that.
And I think that's where he becomes realistic because you can tell it's a physical thing. It's not just drawn on. It's not CGI'd on.
Yeah.
And add to that,
go on then.
He touches Peter. He slimes him.
He slimes him. Yeah.
It's the first
actual physical contact.
That's where the moment where you go, oh my God, these ghosts will do something to you if you touch them.
Yeah, I don't think I liked that very much actually when I first saw the film because I thought that scared me a bit. Yeah, I don't like things that are slimy like that.
Yeah.
I'm not big with like sick or anything like that.
No.
So that, nah.
But I love that you don't see it. I mean, you don't see it because how would they make that happen?
I've got no idea.
But
no idea. Just be a ghost bumping into.
Yeah,
a man,
exactly. It would look
wouldn't
stupid, but because you don't see it, you fill it in with your imagination.
Yes.
And it's terrifying, or it's stupid, or it's whatever you want it to be. And where does the slime come from? And what did he do to him? Did he lick him? Did he run over him? Did he go past through him? Did he excrete it out of some part of him?
Well, it's ectoplasmic residue, isn't it? Whatever that is. Let's Google that.
Well, when he goes through the wall,
yes,
there's some almost dust of slime comes out afterwards.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
And
ectoplasm. Here we go.
And then when they're in the dining room, to catch him.
Yes.
They wrecked that dining room.
Excuse me, sorry.
And so again, the weapons they're using, you see destruction from it. You see actual sparks, and you see tables break, and they smash things over. And it just feels so real. And what I'm probably doing is arguing over practical effects over CGI effects.
Yeah.
But it's impactful.
How the hell in 1984 did they create the Ghostbusters, the streams? How did they do that?
Got to be rotoscoping. They must have just painted it on.
It's amazing.
It's very good.
each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on our back. I just
Why
remember
worry?
that line. And then I think it's Ray just sort of, his eyes sort of open wide, and everyone's just like, oh my God. You realise then the power that these guys are wielding just to go and catch a ghost. They have to use nuclear power, which in the 80s, you know, which
Still
was
scary,
it was still a very scary thing. We were still in the Cold War in the 80s. So you have to use that power, that power that could end the world, just to capture a ghost. That's worrying. Very, very worrying. Anyway, ectoplasm. Do you want to know what Wikipedia says it is?
Tell me all about it.
It's ectoplasm, from the Greek ektos, meaning outside, and plasma, meaning something formed or moulded, is a term used in spiritualism to denote a substance or spiritual energy exercised by physical mediums. There you go.
You just spoke Greek to me.
I feel like I did to everyone who's listening. I apologise if you just fell asleep. Sorry.
So let's skip ahead to Zool, Gozer, and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Okay, fine. Let's do that. You've missed the skeleton cab
Yeah,
driver.
well, the skeleton cab driver is what he is. I mean, he's there. He's literally in the cab.
You only see the top half of him.
Yeah,
You see like his head.
It's like an animatronic, right?
Definitely.
Um,
Or no, actually, it's probably not. It's probably just a puppet. It's probably
true.
just a puppet.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably someone like just out of shot moving the arms
Yeah,
and the head. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
So, with what we're sticking with is the realism, right?
Yes.
And how these ghosts and villains fit into our world.
Yes.
Going back to biblical.
Okay, I'm listening.
What does the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man do? What is the one thing that triggers the Ghostbusters into action?
He steps on a church.
Steps on a church.
No one steps on a church in my town.
Exactly right. And
My
I think it
God.
pulls it back to that. It's something we know in our core. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I know this is Christianity owning this situation, right? I get it.
Sure.
There are many other religions exist and are right in their own right. But for this film, it draws you into something that you do instinctively know, or most of the viewers will know, and recognise and will feel some impact from. Not just any building.
Okay.
It's a holy place.
A church, yeah.
Yeah.
Consecrated ground, as they call it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Sacred ground, yeah. Okay. I've never considered that before. I mean, I know he steps on a church because I know the line. And
Yeah, but he could step on anything, right?
He could. He does. He steps on cars and all
and knock
sorts.
things over. But the one thing that pushes them into action.
He steps on a church.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that Dan Aykroyd and Egon, help, please, chap who passed away recently.
Oh, Harold Ramis.
Howard Ramis. Sorry, Howard Ramis, for forgetting your name. May you rest in peace. So what you're saying is they wrote the script for this, didn't they?
Yeah, with Ivan Reitman.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that to keep this film realistic and not too far outside of into the realms of fantasy, they grounded it in spiritualism and religion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I have never considered that before, and you have quite literally just blown my mind.
And I think that those things are crucial to this film feeling real.
How have I never considered that before?
It's all about the afterlife. They're ghosts, after all.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Yeah. And they were trapping those ghosts.
Yeah. And
in a storage facility.
the very final act that they take to defeat them is they cross the streams,
Yes.
which is total protonic reversal, right? Every particle.
Say that phrase again?
No. Every particle in your body exploding at the speed of light. But the point is that they're trying to. There's a doorway to somewhere,
Yes.
right? Where's that doorway to? You might suggest hell, because all of these demons and monsters and ghosts are coming from it.
But it could theoretically just be heaven as
Yep,
well.
could be, because it's glowing white as well.
Yes.
So they're going to. If the door swings both ways, they could change things, right?
Yes.
And the last thing they say to each other is, "See you on the other side."
See you on the other side, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all spiritual.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And that makes that is about hitting us in the place where we know we have questions, and it's about us and our feelings about that situation.
Bloody hell, fire, Nathan. You've done some good work here.
Thank you.
You really have. I just thought it was a great film from
Yeah,
the
it's just a comedy. It's just a stupid comedy, but it's not. It's real. It feels real. I think that's why it's lasted. It's stood the test of time.
Yeah,
because of all
absolutely.
this stuff that you kind of go, well, that's something I recognise. That's not just I know that building or I know that car or something. It's actually that's something I recognise in myself.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You've done very well there.
Thank you.
You've thought about this.
Well, I think about
Put some
Ghostbusters most days.
Put some effort into this podcast. This is good. Let's
Yeah.
keep going. What else have you got?
Well, I want to talk about Ghostbusters 2 now
Me too.
because I love Ghostbusters 2 and it gets a bad rap.
I love Ghostbusters 2 as well. Now, don't get me wrong. If you consider the original a 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
I have to say that Ghostbusters 2 is a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, agreed. It's got a bit more shine on it.
Yes, it does. They wear different colour suits at different times.
They do to sell toys.
Yes, they also have some different equipment at times as well.
To sell toys.
Yes, they do.
Um,
Although, didn't the suits that they wore, didn't they try and match them up a little bit more to the real Ghostbusters? Because in the real Ghostbusters, they have different colour suits.
they do. I don't know if they did to match it up. I'm not sure, but they do have different coloured suits. There's one of the first episodes, or maybe the first episode of the real Ghostbusters. They all have the grey-brown suits,
Yes.
but they're all covered in marshmallow. And so when they get back to the HQ,
Yeah.
they all have these other suits that they put on.
Right, okay.
It's like right at the beginning.
That makes sense then.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
It's like a passing of the torch between the movie and the TV
That's
series.
where they divert. Okay, good.
So there's a lot less in Ghostbusters 2.
That's religion?
That's got that sort of biblical element to it. But it is more tangible, in my opinion.
Okay.
The main villain, beyond Vigo, is a river of slime.
Yes. All the bad feeling in New York
Yeah.
made real.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
And it touches things. If you touch it, you change.
Yes, you
And
do.
the main characters jump into it. It's all about physicality. None of it's about I'm near it, so I've got the vibes coming off me or anything like that. It's all about touch.
Yeah.
The lady walks through a puddle of it with a mink coat on or something, and that
Yeah.
comes alive as
Yes.
it minks.
We just went for a swim in it,
Yeah.
and we almost ended up killing ourselves.
Exactly. Dana wheels her pram through some.
Yes, and the
And
pram goes spinning off.
Comes
Yeah.
alive. Yeah, exactly. So it's all physicality again. It's all
Yeah.
about that connection to that physical connection to it, and which makes it more real. Have you ever?
You're bloody onto something here.
Thank you.
are. Dan Aykroyd's going to sue you.
Yeah, maybe. No, he won't. He'll just know I love his films. Let me take you to another franchise, if I may.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about Ghostbusters today.
Star Trek: First Contact.
Right.
There's a really lovely scene in that movie where Picard first sees the rocket that Zefram Cochrane's going to fly.
Yes, he does.
What's it called?
Doesn't matter.
Does matter.
I want to say the Voyager, but it's
No,
not.
it's not. I'm
No.
going to look it up.
But I know the scene that you mean.
I'm gonna
He
look up
touches
Zefram
it,
Cochrane.
and Data says,
Zefram.
"Does tactile contact make this have more meaning to you?"
He does say that. That's exactly what he says. And Picard says, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Like being able to touch and feel something it connects you to that thing." And Data then tries it and realizes it, and he senses.
I
what's
sense
in
all
it.
sorts of imperfections.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
The,
Yeah,
in the metal or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I'm just going to quickly look up what is the ship called. It's going to really annoy.
I'll just fill for a bit, shall I?
Yeah, you do
I'll
that.
fill
It's
for
the
a bit.
Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
The Phoenix. Should have
Of course it
known
is.
that. Yeah. And so that links back to this, is what I'm saying. So
Okay.
I believe everything that Picard said there. I feel it too. I think when I go places and visit places, I like to touch them. I like to touch, let's say,
Hang on.
what?
Places.
Yeah, places.
Okay.
Not people.
Right. Places.
Or people's places.
Show me on this map of the world where you've touched.
Show me the map of the world where you were touched. No,
Oh,
right, no.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Prague. Went to Prague.
Sure.
Prince Charles Bridge.
Right.
I didn't just walk across it, didn't just look at it. I made sure I had a hand on the handrail, and there was all the padlocks that people put on there for love or hope or anything. You make sure you look at them and touch them and feel them. and all the towers and bell towers, and just the architecture, just being there and touching it is more impactful than seeing a picture of it.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
Okay.
I've never felt up the Eiffel Tower. I've looked at a picture of it, and I've driven past it when I was a kid. But I'd like to go there and touch it, I guess. I've got
strange.
no idea what is going on.
But you can see what I mean about the River of Slime.
Yes.
It's not just, you don't just feel bad around it. You only feel bad when you touch it, and you only have the objects that you're interacting with only transform when they touch it or interact with it in some way.
Mood slime.
Yeah.
We've been singing to it and talking to it and whispering sweet nothings to it. Sweet things to it.
You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?
Oh, you. It's always the quiet ones.
So, but even more so. So the toaster moves when they pour the slime into it.
Yeah.
The Statue of Liberty only moves and only moves and comes to life when it's touched by the slime.
Yes, and then they play it music and it starts to dance. Well, it doesn't start to dance. They can move it. Yeah.
Jackie Wilson's Your Love, Lifting Me Higher.
Brilliant.
Great song.
Absolutely brilliant.
So that's important in the film, the tactile contact.
Yes.
Because we know what it feels like to touch something like that.
Yes.
And we have spent a movie with these characters. We put ourselves on those characters.
Yeah.
So then it's more real.
Honestly, mind is blown. Absolutely blown.
I could just be talking nonsense. You might just be tired.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. Okay, so we've got the River of Slime.
Yeah, okay.
That was a big thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I can never see that River of Slime and go, oh, that looks great, because it doesn't.
Nope.
The effect, practical or otherwise, or whatever it is not great. It is dated.
Arms come out of it. Hands come out of it when Ray's coming down the...
Yeah, that's okay, but sometimes it doesn't look great. I don't know what... There was obviously a change from the special effects they used from the first film to this film, but I'd say the effects in the first film, because they're all practical, seem better to me than the ones in GB2 with the River of Slime.
I think you can see different... You can see it being used in different ways. So when it's the actual river, I mean, it looks like a cartoon drawn. But then later on, they sort of pour puddles of this pink slime, and then that is real. I mean, it's on the screen. There's also, before we move on, what about when the slime goes in the bathtub? And the bathtub comes alive.
Yeah, it tries to eat Oscar.
Yeah.
What about the train?
Yeah, with
when
the
they're
train.
down in the subway, and there's Egon. It comes along, and Egon and Ray jump out of the way, and it goes right through Winston, and Winston's just like, he looks like he's about to die of panic.
But that's a great example of the actors showing us the physicality of Ghost, because he moves back and forward, and you feel like it's a rush of air coming through him, like being pushed.
But you said it yourself, in the first film, we never saw a ghost go through or hit someone.
No.
In the second film, special effects have moved on a little bit. We see a train drive through Winston.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, Egon says, "Oh, we must be getting close because someone's trying to keep us away."
Yeah.
And it's this River of Slime, obviously. But I just realised that train was physically driving through Winston. There's that physicality again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
It's good. I'm going to skip one. We'll come back to Vigo in a second. Janosch. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen on screen.
The Ghost Nanny.
Yeah.
Yes. And the eyes lighting up.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
It's awful. In fact, I don't even like thinking about it right now.
You know why it's the most terrifying thing? Because you see him before, and he's a bit of a creep, but he's also just a guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy that loves what he does.
And he wants a friend.
Yeah, he wants some friends. He kind of fancies Dana. He's just a guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then
Peter McNichol, I think it is.
Maybe? Yeah, and he's a great actor.
He's
really,
brilliant.
really great actor.
Yeah.
Then he is taken over. He's controlled. And that feeling of loss of control, right? We've all known that, yeah?
Yes.
And that's one of the most terrifying feelings in the world.
Yes. That's when it's the painting, isn't it? Vigo's in the painting,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. And I just think that's again another manifestation of realistic fears.
Yeah.
A silly way of showing it. He suddenly has these powers of a ghost or whatever, a demon. But it's not him doing it, because even at the end, why am I dripping with goo? And like you're like, oh yeah, that was just a guy. and it's actually terrifying that he was controlled that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made him feel good though, didn't it? At the end.
Oh, the slime.
Yeah, because
it was positively charged.
They doused him with the positive slime, didn't
they
they?
did,
Yeah,
yeah,
not the positive mood slime, not the negative mood slime. Okay, good. And then of course it gets Ray as well.
It does get Ray. Vigo is really scary.
He's quite insidious, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Yeah. When the head sort of bulges out of the painting.
Oh, and he's got those little stubs.
Oh, that's right. That's when it's Ray. But I meant before that, when it's just a painting and it's sort of like there's a. Do you not remember this bit?
Oh,
sort of face suddenly has a shape.
Yes,
that comes out.
Yeah. Awful. Hate it.
I mean, awful as in scary.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's another perfect example of. What's the right word for this? It's like. It's in the real world.
Yeah.
It's like The Ring or something, where the girl comes out of the TV and
God, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like that. It's that fear. It's that something other, some other mysterious, horrible thing is coming into our world because the painting is there. You can see it and touch it and feel it.
What about when you catch it smiling at Dana?
Oh yeah,
creepy as anything.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant,
done so well.
It is
and then
very, very well.
Then Ray gets possessed, and that's just the worst.
So what's Vigo's deal? He was a bad guy.
So I think he's a bit like Dr. Doom.
Vigo the Carpathian, right?
Yeah.
He was poisoned, shot, stabbed, disemboweled, hung, drawn, quartered, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ouch.
What's the quote that he says at the end?
Death is but a door. No, death is something. Time is but a doorway. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Death is but a door. Time is but a doorway.
No, that can't be right.
I'll be back.
We should know this. We should.
You
hate
should know
ourselves.
this.
Yeah.
This is your favourite Ghostbusters. Come on, man. Sorry, my phone is lighting up. I've got so many messages coming through. It's unbelievable.
Vigo only has one G in it. Oh, my bad. I wrote two G's.
Vigo.
I know.
God.
Yeah. So he's known as
Vigo the Carpathian.
Scourge of Carpathia, Sorrow of Moldavia, Vigo the Carpathian, Vigo the Cruel, Vigo the Torturer, Vigo the Despised, Vigo the Unholy.
Do you know who he's voiced by?
It's yeah, I do know his voice by, and again I can't remember his name. Max von Sydow, isn't it?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, very good. He does have a quote: "Death is but a door, time is but a window. I'll be back."
Okay, so I said doorway.
Yeah,
so it's
very good.
Okay, fine. Death is but a door, time is but a window. I'll be back. Those are some really eerie final words.
They really are.
And he backed it up with, he was back.
Were there any other ghosts in Ghostbusters 2? There's the Scoleri brothers.
The Scoleri brothers, yeah.
Friends of yours? Yeah. Tried them for murder.
Try for murder! Give him the chair! Those two are great. And that whole scene when they're back as well, that is such a... It's quite a scary scene well, not scary, but, it's a bit...
It's peril. Yeah.
I don't like them, and they're a bit odd. So I'm just remembering Peter capturing one of them in his streams, and he's bringing him into the middle of the courtroom. He's going, come on, fat boy!
Yeah.
They're dragging him in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
So they come out of the slime.
Yes, they do.
And the slime...
But they only come out of the slime when the judge
screaming.
is absolutely losing it at them.
Yeah.
I wonder if at some point he touched the slime, but it was cut from the film.
Yeah, maybe.
So the slime may have made him go a little bit more over the top than he would normally.
Yeah.
And it in some way charged it, and those guys came out. I'm speculating. I don't know.
The slime bubbling over is a great tension scene. It's because the words that the judge is saying you don't even really hear. It's just vitriol. It's just poison.
It's pouring out
just
horrible
coming out,
words,
and you turn off from it.
Yeah.
Because you see the Ghostbusters focusing on the slime. Because it's like, hey, she's twitching, and it's like bubble, 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 and it just looks so real.
Yeah.
It looks. You think to yourself, oh, this is going to explode. You can feel it coming over. So it's just more of the physical effect, the practical effect. I think that maybe is the headline of this podcast, is practical effects are better than CGI.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I think that's where the 2016 film falls down. I think the villains in that are weak.
Do you know what? I honestly cannot tell you right now, other than the creepy guy who works in the hotel, what any of the ghosts were. I think there's one in a subway where they go, like maybe the first one they see.
No, the first one they see is the librarian, the Duchess in the house, which is meant to mirror the librarian scene.
And it throws up all over them, over one of them. Yeah. Okay. Now that I do remember.
It's got the whole film's got a bit of a shine to it. We know that and I think from that tweet earlier, we're right that the characters within it are kind of self-aware that it's a comedy
Is that
film.
the review that X Geeks, not the review, but do we need another Ghostbusters film?
Yeah,
that
article? Good. Yeah, it was a good article. Yeah.
So X Geeks wrote an article. They're friends of ours on Twitter. Great guys, Ben and Rob. We tweeted it. We retweeted it out, so it's in our timeline. So Nerdschatting on Twitter. Just go and have a look. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I think that it gets a lot wrong, and you can only say that if what you're saying is that it's trying to do what the 80s movies did. If it's trying to do something else, then it's achieved its goals. If it's trying to be what it, if its end result was in the plan, then it's achieved that. But if you're saying that it's trying to replicate the 80s films, then it has failed.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it got a little bit of criticism, because it is doing something different. I mean, it's lit differently. The characters are self-aware and are wacky rather than where Peter in the first two is silly. He's silly in a real-world context. People wouldn't look at him and think, well, what you're saying is really odd. They would think, oh, he's kind of a funny guy. If you put the four Ghostbusters from 2016 into the real world and got them to say the words they were saying and act the way they were saying, you'd look at them and go, oh, I think they're on drugs or something. They're saying they're otherworldly. They're comedy characters.
It's a bit of a shame, really, because didn't one of them have a backstory? I can't remember who it is. It's not Holtzman. It's either Melissa McCarthy's character
or the other lady who you can't remember the name of.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
She's a great actress, and she's going to be in Wonder Woman.
She is.
Too, yeah.
Oh God, what is wrong with me? Why can't I remember her name? But don't they?
Kristen Wiig, obviously.
Don't they both have some kind of backstory where they were working on some kind of book? The thing is, this is the other thing. I've seen it once in the cinema. I didn't hate it. It didn't hold a candle to the original. It was fine. We reviewed it. I think we both said, do you know what? It was fine.
Yeah, quite enjoyed it.
That were fine.
It's a silly film and it's fun.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But
there's nothing physical in it.
Yeah, and really, honestly, if they wanted that film to become a new franchise, they should have just gone, okay, it's a direct sequel to what came before, and run with that and get someone on board that way.
I don't even think that's the problem with it. I think it's fine if it's a reboot. It's fine. I'm going to stick with what I was saying about the physicality of it. I think the realism. There's a scene where Melissa McCarthy's character gets possessed.
Yes.
And her head turns all the way around.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Very Exorcist, but...
You wouldn't have done that in the 80s.
No.
Because that would kill her.
Yes, it would.
It's not real. It's not realistic. We don't believe it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, God,
Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth character in it, he's hilarious. It's really funny, really great bit of casting. But he does some really stupid things that don't work.
Yeah, there's no way that a man that dumb would have lived as long as that, as Chris Hemsworth
He's
has.
trying to be Lewis Tully, who is stupid and funny and just a bit of a dork in the originals.
Yes.
But he's not stupid because he's an accountant or a lawyer or whatever. He's both, I think. I think he's an accountant to begin with.
Isn't he a model as well?
No,
I'm sure he's a model as well. In the film?
In Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters. Lewis Tully.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant Hemsworth in the remake.
No, yeah. Hemsworth maybe, yes. Yeah. But
Lewis Tully is an accountant.
He's an accountant and then he's a lawyer later.
Is he?
Yeah, because he is their lawyer in the Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, God, of course he is. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, but he got his law degree in night school. Yes. I'm not even sure if I should be doing this. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Sure, the blackout was bad for everyone, but I don't blame them because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you. Anyway, so do you know the best part of the Ghostbusters 2016 film? The bit that hits home the most, the bit that you're actually scared of?
The intro?
No. It's the scene when they're just about to fight. They're just about to fight the giant green dragon demon, which doesn't look good.
I don't even remember it.
Just before that, some mannequins come alive and come after them.
I don't even remember that.
And that is real.
Did I
And
even see
it might,
this film?
It might
I'm
have
sure
been.
I did.
Yeah, it might be CGI, but you can. Everyone has looked at a mannequin in the past, even though if they were young or not, and looked at it and gone, "Oh, did that move? Well, that's creepy." Because it looks like a person.
Yeah,
It's the
Doctor
Uncanny
Who's done
Valley
an episode
yeah,
with mannequins as the bad guys.
exactly.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley. It's close to a human.
In
It's
fact,
close enough.
I have quite often been in supermarkets and seen 3 people stood there, and then 2 of them have walked off, and I've looked at the third person, and it's a mannequin.
Exactly.
And I've
So-
gone, "Wow, that was weird,"
That's the best bit of that film, I think.
and I don't even
in
remember
terms
it.
of this. Yeah, well,
I'm terrible.
I think the villain. If we come right back to what I was talking about, the villains. The villain of the Ghostbusters 2016 film is he's poorly acted. He's got a bad script. He's got a bad backstory. When he becomes a ghost at the end, he's like drawn like a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's all none of it feels recognizable. None of it feels like you could imprint yourself on that. You can't empathize with the guy. There's nothing realistic about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess the reason I was talking about villains mostly, we'll come back to the teaser, is that the teaser for Ghostbusters 3 that was released this week doesn't use the Who You're Gonna Call music. It doesn't use the Ghostbusters music. It uses the Gozer music, the Zool music. Yeah. And that, I think, is crucial to this film being good.
The villain.
It recognises that it's got to be scary.
Yeah.
And it's got to be about the villain. It's got to be about real people interacting with something horrific.
And a film is only as good, a hero is only as good as the villain that he's fighting, he or she is fighting.
I agree.
So,
Do you think Zool and Gozer will be back?
I don't know. I think it would be... Okay, so if it is the third film in what is now a trilogy of films...
They're saying it is a continuation and it's going to be a handing over the torch to some teenage characters.
in some way, shape or form, it will have to tie back to the first film because that's the rule of a trilogy. It ties back in some way to the first film. Yeah. Now, it could be something insignificant happened in the first film. It could be the librarian ghost is now the villain. Maybe she got out of the library and she's doing something else. Who knows?
Yeah.
What I like about the trailer is how it made me feel. And straight away, it made me feel like I was watching Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Because it was all... You see the barn in the distance... And then you cut to like a sweeping up, a panning scene where you're looking at leaves blowing in the wind and the music's playing, and there's all like these flashes, and you don't really know what's going on. You're in the barn, and then the tarpaulin comes back, and it's the Ecto-1.
Yeah.
And then you hear a proton pack turn on.
Yeah.
And when the proton pack turned on, I almost fainted. I was so excited. I don't know, genuinely, I don't know what the villain could be. But I know that they absolutely have to get it right. They have got to nail this.
I'd love them to come back to another biblical reference, I think, personally.
Like what?
Subtle or not, I don't know. Well, nothing in the original references heaven or God or the afterlife.
Well, apart from when they quote the Bible.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they're talking about the Bible. They're not talking about that over there is...
Revelations and Judgment Day.
Yeah, they don't point and say... God must be through that doorway, or they don't point and say, these are spirits from heaven, or these are demons from hell. They don't do that.
No, they quite niftily sidestep all of that, don't they?
They just reference it, and then they step on a church.
No one steps on a church in my town.
And I'd really like something to come back from that. Maybe, do you know what?
What?
Maybe include some other religions in there.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, there are, dozens of them out there, so yeah. I don't know, though. You've got to be very careful with some of those religions.
Offending
yeah, you can offend people if you like.
I mean, you offend me daily.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. But I think if isn't it Muslims? You can show the Prophet Muhammad, but you. I'm going to get that. I've got that wrong.
You've got it wrong.
You
can't
can show
do
one,
something.
but you can't show the other.
Yeah, yeah.
And didn't that Danish cartoon? They did a cartoon of one or
French,
the other,
wasn't it
or
French?
some, I can't remember what it was.
There was a
And
terror attack because
yeah,
of
it was. It didn't go down very well.
I
So
know,
I think
so
you've got
you've
to
got to
be
be careful.
very
Yeah.
careful. But something that ties it back to the first film or the second film, or ties both of those things together.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something behind the scenes that made that bought Maybe that what was he called? Ivo Shandor, the guy who bought
He built the
built the hotel to
yeah,
channel whatever it is or to communicate with.
Yeah.
Maybe he had something to do with pulling the strings. Maybe he might be the bad guy. Maybe it'll be something else. Maybe a descendant of his or something like that. Whatever it is, I'm excited. What's exciting me about it is the fact that it's in the same universe as those two films.
Yeah.
Jason Reitman is doing it. Jason Reitman directs some really cool indie films. Like one of the films that he's made that I love is Up in the Air.
Oh yeah, I've not seen it.
Oh, so good. It's so good.
He did Thank You for Smoking, which was very good, and he also did Juno, which was very
Yeah, Juno's a great film.
Yeah.
I think what he'll do is he'll bring a bit of realism to it. There you go, realism again. But he has enough experience of this universe with his father being involved, and you know, as a kid visited the set and all that sort of thing.
He was in one of them.
Was he?
Yeah.
What, as a kid?
Yeah, it's quite funny. I think it's on his. So if I go look at it,
Hang on, are you thinking? Wasn't
Actor.
he the guy?
No, he's Brownstone Boy number 2 in Ghostbusters 2.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Me neither.
But if you go on his Twitter, that's what's listed as like his bio.
Wasn't he also in Kindergarten Cop?
Let's say yes, because I've come off the screen.
Okay, fine. I'm sure he was. Anyway, I hope that
He was Kissing Boy in Kindergarten.
there you go. See,
And he was in Twins.
Fine.
And Dave.
All right. Okay. I think
I'm just listing things now.
we're just listing
Yeah.
films that he was in now.
I'm just like one of those like screen readers.
Yeah.
I was like, Jason Reitman, producer, director, writer.
Yeah, like I said, so I like some of the films that he's done. Quite a lot of the films that he's done.
He's close to it.
He's very close to it. It's like
Yeah.
a family tradition almost. I liked the fact that he posted that tweet that said he's got the keys to the car now.
There's no, I think didn't he say?
I found the keys. or
Everyone can
something.
relax. I found the car, which is Ray's
Oh, that's
line
of
from
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah, only 2,800. So, or 3,800. I can't remember. Forget what it is. But I think that he's going to be close. He's close enough to this that it's in his heart, and he's a fan like we are. So he's going to deliver something that I hope will be great.
Yeah, I agree.
And I liked what he said as well, that he wasn't disparaging about the 2016 reboot.
No.
He said that he'd quite like to see other stories with those guys in as well. Yeah. That will be fine.
Well, it's funny that Dan Aykroyd's been saying this for years. Dan Aykroyd's been saying, there'll be other Ghostbusters movies, there'll be other universes, there might not be tie-in, there might be different universes. And everyone's just been like, all right, Dan, go and sell your vodka from your skull bottles and you crazy man. Because that's what he does now.
Yeah, he's a quirky guy, isn't he, Dan Aykroyd?
He is, yeah. He's
I like
very
Dan
much
Aykroyd.
into the occult.
Yeah.
And and
I've got a lot of time for him.
He, like I say, he has a range of vodka that specifically is sold in glass skulls.
You make vodka from potatoes,
Great.
don't you?
Don't know.
Okay, good.
I'm not a vodka-arian.
What else we got to say about this?
Not much really. I think I'm done. I think I've poured a lot of love over this.
Do you think the villain will be CGI?
Yeah, I think it will, and I think that'll take it away from it.
What if it's not, though?
Then wonderful. I'm all for it.
Practical effects, when done right, when time and money is invested into them, can be so powerful.
What you need to do is take the Force Awakens approach. A lot of the Force Awakens is practical effects. However, it's touched up neatly with some CGI.
What is it about you on this podcast with touching things?
What?
You've been around the world touching famous stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all
Touching
that
up CGI?
slime touching things. And,
Okay, good. Right.
Touching the Phoenix. But that's how it's done right.
Yeah, sure.
So you build a model, prosthetic, or an animatronic. You put it in the scene. You get it to do the thing you want to do, and then you just paint out the bits you don't
hide the
like,
lines, and
you paint on the bits you want.
Nice.
That's the way to do it, because the characters, so the actors can actually interact with it.
Yes.
If it's the same as like the ping pong ball, right? The ping pong ball on set that moves around, that's the ghost or the monster or the Hulk or the superhero or the animal that talks or whatever it is,
Right.
the robot that the human has to interact with.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's difficult for a human to interact with it. That's like you've got to be an actor from the theatre to do that, because
Yes.
they can people who people who are really good at that craft are on stage and they have nothing else. They're just them and the stage, and they can use their imagination. But in film, it's much more clinical, and there's 30, 40 people around you with cameras and microphones and looking at screens, and you need something to interact with, to have a naturality between you. That's a word. I'm using it. I'm owning it. Going with it.
Fine.
So, Ben, where can people find us to give us feedback on all the nonsense we just said for an hour?
Has it been an hour? My
Nearly,
goodness.
yeah.
They can find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Podbean and Spotify and iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And did you say about Outlook?
Oh, and Outlook, yeah.
Sure. You
Outlook.com.
can email me if you want. I'll reply.
Nerdschatting@outlook.com. That's
okay.
the one.
I will reply.
Has anyone
promise.
emailed you yet?
Some people email me.
Do they?
Mostly it's like people trying to sell us stuff.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. Yeah. We are active on social media, more on Twitter and Instagram, really. We're on Facebook. And yeah, as I said, you can download this podcast for free. Tell your friends about it on nerdschatting.podbean.com. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts on iTunes.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I do love talking about Ghostbusters.
It's great fun, isn't it?
Do you remember when we did a commentary on it? We just had like...
Did we?
Yeah, we had a whale of a time. We just sat there, we're like, this is just the best thing ever.
Did we do a commentary on
We
Ghostbusters?
did do a commentary on Ghostbusters, yeah, way back when. Back when we were the Lazarus Pit Pod, before we were the Nerdschatting.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
I'm going to have to link it in below now.
No,
You know
don't
you
do it.
son of a bitch.
No, it was good. It's fun. I recommend anyone that hasn't seen it that's listened to this, you just got to go and see it. It's such a fun ride.
What, Ghostbusters?
Yep.
Yeah, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay, fine.
Are we done?
I think so.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.